is round 6 of the British Superbike Championship from Silverstone in Northamptonshire. Expect frantic action as we hit the halfway stage of the season. Leads the series and beat the battling duo of Chris Walker and Neil Hodgson at the last round. You join us live at Silverstone for round 6 of the British Superbikes. Races 1 and 2 will be live and uninterrupted, and the Superstock and Supersport will be in our 4-hour coverage this afternoon. You won't miss anything from Silverstone. We will be live throughout the afternoon. And you join us on the Sky Sports balcony, the best view in the house here. I'm joined by, of course, Scott Smart for the moment. Scott, nice to see you. Already we have drama behind us in the Supersport start, in the Superstock start. We're about to get underway with the race proper, which will be live. We'll hand over to Julian in just a second. Great racing today we're looking forward to.
Yeah, it's a fantastic circuit. There's some fairly fast parts, lots of chicanes. It's going to make for some interesting racing.
Well, we've got the Super Stocks out on the track at the moment. Let's go to the menu and take a look at what's coming up. At 1:10, Super Stocks live. Superbike Race 1 live will be at approximately 1:40. We are on a delayed start already today. The drama has been premature. It got to us before we got to you. Super Sports Race will be live at 3:05. Superbike Race 2 live as well. Remember, we've got a channel change in the middle of the day. At 3 o'clock, we go to Sky Sports 3. Now let's take a look at the grid for Superstock. They're out doing their warm-up lap right now. David Jeffries on the O2 Plus, now Pace3.com. Yamaha is in pole position. Glenn Richards, though, on the Sanyo First National Honda is in second place. Matt Llewellyn on the other Pace3.com Yamaha is in third place. Chris Vermeulen, Glenn Richards' teammate, so it's a bit of a Yamaha versus Honda battle at the moment on row 1. Row 2, Jamie Morley, Andy Tinsley. Now, Andy Tinsley was involved in that massive crash that we've just had from the Superstock, so we don't know yet whether he will make it to the grid. Ian Duffus is in 7th place. Waldy Coulter, the best of the Aprilias, in 8th place. That's row 2. Row 3 is Stevie Brogan, Mason, Ronnie Haslam. He's older than me. I'm going to go down and join him. There's only one bloke that's heavier than us at our age, and that's Jonathan Green, and we'll hear from him in a moment. And Chapman is out there in 12th place on the grid too on his Yamaha. That's the first 3 rows. On row 4, which is a long way back at Silverstone, this is a big place. Jamie Allison is out there, Gus Scott is there, Ronnie Smith is out there, and Campbell is there too. So as we look down at row 4 on the grid, this is what happened at the first start of the Superstocks. From the middle of the grid, as the lights turn green, big jump start there, big wheelie from the middle of the grid. There's a bit of a corner on there, and you can see straight down in the middle of the pack, a bike is fallen, but of course the riders behind, massive trouble trying to avoid that fallen rider, and the ensuing crash took out 53 Mike Hose. Andy Tinsley was on bike 6, 30 David Smith, and 31 David Higgins from the back of the grid. So one rider was injured quite badly. Of course, well, I did say that we would get off to a fireworks start here, and we have done in the Superstocks. Now then, looking down at pit lane, and I can see Jonathan Green. Jonathan, what is the news from pit lane regarding that start?
Well, it's confusion, basically. I mean, as you saw, a big deal of confusion as to what exactly happened. The wet conditions might have added to it. It's been slightly wet, a little downpour earlier on. I think basically there was a bit of slip sliding at the front there, everybody trying to go for position, and that's what caused the problem. But as you can see, most of them are out there now, and we don't really know what the update is on you know, how badly anybody's hurt. But
What's the mood down there, Jonathan? I mean, I can see you're a little bit tense, mate. It was a horrendous start to the day here at Silverstone. Great expectations here at Silverstone, of course, and this got us off to the worst start possible. What's the feeling down in pit lane at the moment? What's the atmosphere there?
Well, putting what's just happened aside, the feeling there's a really fantastic buzz down here. And I have to be honest, coming to Silverstone, being the home of motor racing that it is, and also the home of Formula One here in Britain, you know, you kind of expect that the British Superbikes may not make the impact that you'd hope they would. But I can tell you, right from down here, I mean, you can see how long this pit lane is. This is one of the biggest pit lanes in the world, and of course designed specifically for Formula One. But the British Superbikes have arrived here. Caravans, hospitality, the lot, it's all here. And let me show you how they're filling these pits out. This is how much British Superbikes has come on. These are decked out. Look at Stevie Hislop, he's half asleep there, ready to go on the front row, looking cool and relaxed, and of course, as always, surrounded by women. But plenty going on. The pits are full. There's a real buzz of anticipation about what's going on down here. The hit, you know, the battle between Hodgson and Walker is bound to rage on, but that seems to have been forgotten now, and now everybody's down to racing and just excited about racing here at Silverstone, because it's one heck of a track to race around, very fast indeed. And hey, Keith, I don't think you're too heavy. I think you could come down here and race. Anyway, let's go about the man of the moment at the moment. Pole position man, of course, Neil Hodgson. He's done it again. He's with Claire Smith.
Of course, another main story of this weekend is that Neil Hodgson has had those points from that incident reinstated. He now comes into Silverstone only 10 points behind John Reynolds. Well, Neil, the INS team are smiling. Couldn't be a better start to the weekend for you, really, could it?
No, it's worked out perfect, you know, to get those 11 points back that I deserved, really. You know, in my opinion, they shouldn't have been taken away in the first place. It was quite a silly decision, but thankfully the officials realised that, and you know, racing's racing, and it was a racing incident, and like I say, I've got my points back and ready for a charge.
Well, Neil, to say rivalry will be intense here this weekend would probably seem like a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, nothing changes, you know. The first race at Brands I was very determined, and nothing changes. My confidence is getting higher every race meeting, and the determination's getting stronger, so you know, the fire's burning hard inside and ready for action.
Now, the Ducatis are notorious for doing well at this particular circuit. It's real wide in places. We should see some real good Walker-Hodgson overtaking manoeuvres out there today, shouldn't we?
Well, yeah, well, hopefully not. You know, the way it's gone in practice, I'm pretty confident that I can get a bit of a lead at this meeting. So, you know, if I can get my starts well, then hopefully I can get a little bit of a gap, and there's no need for any of those silly moves on the last lap from Chris.
Well, your current form means that we'll probably be talking to you in a bit on the podium. Thanks very much, Neil. Well, it's up to Keith with a brilliant view up there.
You're right, especially of you, Claire. Thank you very much indeed. Now then, Hodgson we've heard about. I was a bit confused with Jonathan Green there. Of course, the incident at Holton Park isn't forgotten because it's fresh in all of our minds. We're going to have a lot more of that later in the programme when we get to the Superbikes. But now we can join Scott Smart and Julian Ryder with the Superstocks race, which is now underway live here at Silverstone.
Thank you, Keith. Yes, lap 4 of 16 completed, and the Sanyo Honda Fireblades are running away at the front. We have a Kawasaki in the kitty litter there on lap 5. I don't think that was Mason, but here's the leader, Chris Vermeulen, leading by that much from his teammate.
Vermeulen's just ahead of Ridges. Vermeulen made the start and he's been pulling away. It's a pretty dodgy track out there, some very wet bits around the back still, but most of the track is drying. It's drying at quite an alarming rate. But David Jeffries on the chasing Yamaha, 6.5 seconds behind.
Outrageous. And Matt Llewellyn on the other Yamaha, then in 5th place, when you see him, number 66 is Mason, Gary Mason on the Kawasaki.
Yeah, and he's right on the tail of Matt Llewellyn at the moment.
He is indeed, and number 12, Gus Scott, is next up. And here are the two leaders by a distance, Scott, by a distance, the Honda Fireblades. Where we thought perhaps that the R1s wouldn't have it their own way here, but there is that Kawasaki being taken away,
being dug out of the gravel trap. You've only got to run a little bit wide through these through the wet areas, and you just catch a wetter bit. The tyres that they're out there on are the dry type of tyres, not enough grip in the wet. Down you go.
Well, you can see there from that bit of track that is an awful lot of water still standing on bits of this track, not all of it. Here are the leaders.
Actually dragging that bike onto a separate part of the track. That's one of the multitude of different circuits that are allowed to run here. We're of course on the international circuit, which is the next one down from the Grand Prix circuit,
which we can't run because the major gravel trap is now tarmac as per FIA regulations. That's why we're on this circuit, and the Fireblades appear to like it because we now have the Sanyo First National boys circulating, flying in formation, way ahead of David Jeffries, who's been